taking those from nobody.
Your superstars have off games.
Follow us on social media at Celtics Talk Weekly. What's going on, everyone? Welcome back into Celtics Postgame Live. I am your host, Rob Tam. I am with my co-host, Seamus, a.k.a. Celtics Every Day. We are super excited. Well, actually, no, we're not super excited for this show. The Boston Celtics lose a tough one on the road on the second night of a back-to-back to the Indiana Pacers, 107-128. Pacers snap the Boston Celtics 7-game road winning streak. There's a lot to get into it. Pacers shot lights out throughout the entire game. They had 4 20-point scores in their starting lineup. They had 7 total 10-plus scores in the game. They shot 51% from 3, 52% from the floor, 85% from the line, and they really gave the Celtics the works tonight. Seamus, is this a panic button for Celtics, or is this just a rough night on the second night of a back-to-back?
No, I mean, we've seen a lot of losses sort of like this one. Well, I shouldn't say sort of like this one because they really got after us at the end there, but we've seen a lot of these bad losses, in a sense that, we shouldn't lose to this opponent. But if you look at the schedule, there's such thing as a schedule loss. You look at a game, this was the second night of a back-to-back, and it was a 4 o'clock game, or it was a 5 o'clock game, local time where they were at. And yesterday they played a noon game in Detroit. So they're on the road for 3 straight games. This was the 3rd straight game they're on the road. And it was a back-to-back, and they just looked lethargic throughout the afternoon. And we all know it's not very characteristic. It's not a characteristic of the Celtics to give up 128 points to an opponent, especially not an opponent like the Indiana Pacers, who aren't really known for, scoring the basketball and being consistent. Yet today, they just made tough shot after tough shot after tough shot. And the Celtics, they just didn't bring enough energy throughout the whole ball game to really, impose their will the way they typically do, especially on the defensive end of the floor. And combine that with the fact that they just weren't making shots consistently today. And you just have this loss here. And I don't think it's a panic button loss, but it's a loss that, you want to grow from moving forward, of course.
Yeah, I think it's a good film session loss. There's some good things that Emi will be able to point out prior to Tuesday night's game against Atlanta at home, which is a first game of a 3-game homestand for the Celtics. This one stings a little bit, obviously, with a chance to grab that 5 seed from Milwaukee. Would have been nice, especially you'd like to go in and snag a game against a kind of a struggling 20-40 or now 21-41 Indiana Pacers team. But you make a great point. It's a schedule loss. Second night of a back-to-back. The C's have been playing phenomenal basketball. It's a long season. It's normal for teams to have slip-up games like this. It's just all about getting back on track with getting ready for this last little stretch of basketball coming up. They have Atlanta at home on Tuesday, like I said. So it's not a big deal in my opinion, obviously. You would have wished to get that 5 seed. That's really the only downside in this. You're going to kind of have to play like 1 game catch up, but that shouldn't be too difficult with the way the Celtics have been playing. But, the Pacers just came to play. Something the Celtics got to realize now, when you're the hottest team in the NBA, teams are going to want to give it to you on any given night. They're going to want to go in. They're going to want to snap your streak. They're going to want to, to be the team to slow you guys down. I don't think the Celtics offensively kind of struggled at all. They actually had a very successful offensive night. Brown 23, Tatum 24, Rob Will had 10 and 11. Smart had 13 and off the bench. Pritchard continues to play well with 14, and Derek White did his kind of thing with 11. So offensively, you were kind of there. It's just like you said, defensively, it was one of those games where you're coming off of a back to weird start, 12 o'clock start in Detroit. You take the plane over into Indiana, kind of what we could call a trap game. This guy Brissett, I don't even know what his first name is. O'Shea Brissett has 27, shoots 6 of 9 from beyond the arc. Halliburton shoots 4 of 6. Brogdon goes 2 of 2. So, it was really just Celtics kind of got, outworked. I don't think you can really look at this game. I'm seeing what you guys are saying in the comments because you got to read those. But I wouldn't. It was a bad loss. I wouldn't call this the worst loss of the season. Yes, we are still a good team. So pump the brakes there because the Celtics have played some phenomenal basketball, and we kind of said the same thing after the Detroit loss. Seamus, right? Is you look at a stretch of basketball over 3 games and you go 2-1. You'll take that. You'll take that any day. 2-1 is a very good record. You got 3 more games. If we go 2-1 again, hey, guess what? That's 4-2. You go 2-1 again, guess what? That's 6-3. So they add up. Winning like that, winning basketball adds up. So it's a weird game. That's really what I got. It's back to back. Celtics been kind of trapped with some of these weird start time back to back games.
Also, it's worth noting too that Al Horford didn't even play today at all.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, I don't think we saw him at all. They managed his minutes today, which I don't think Al Horford has an injury, but he is older. And yesterday, me and Ian, we were on Relevant. We were talking about Al Horford, and he played the third most minutes yesterday of his entire season. So, this was a good game to rest him, or theoretically coming in, this was a good game to rest him. Yet, you saw what happened at Indiana Pacers. We got blown out, essentially. But I also want to about, too, the way we lost this game, I don't really like moral victories within the regular season. Or I should say, I don't like moral victories anymore in the regular season. I used to take moral victories out of, all the Celtics games and when they were a good team. But this season, with all the inconsistency, it's been hard to take, a good moral win out of a win because that, hey, it's been followed up by a bad loss. However, as of late, after that 9-game winning streak, we 2 in a row there, and we win 11 of our last 12. Right now, if we were to take a moral victory out of this game, it would be the fact that the team did not roll over entirely. Now, in the fourth quarter, of course, they faltered down the stretch, but there was a moment in the third quarter there where you just looked at it and went, this is probably not their day. This is the moment in which you could see it getting really out of hand here and the game going to the Pacers. Yet all of a sudden it's a 7-point game near the end of the third quarter. They let the rope go a little bit. If they would have finished the third quarter a little bit better, they might have had a better chance going into the fourth. But there were just moments in the game where if they just could have capitalized, maybe this outcome is a little bit different. And the fact that they were putting themselves in those situations where, if a couple of plays go their way, they maybe win the game or maybe make it a closer game. That's pretty good considering they could have just rolled over easily in the third quarter, in the first half. And it really took most of the game for the Pacers to really close them out outside of the last, 4.
Yeah. You make a good point. It happens. It happens. And I think the good thing that the Celtics can afford one of these losses is because they've put themselves in a position where, this won't really hurt them in the long run. We still sit 2 games over Toronto from that 7 spot. We're only a game back from Milwaukee from that 5 spot, only a game and a half back from Cleveland in that 4 spot. So we're still in a phenomenal situation. You do have a little bit of a tough home stretch coming up with Atlanta on Tuesday. And then you go out and play Memphis on Thursday. And then they got Brooklyn and company coming in on Sunday alongside Kevin Durant may be back by then. Kyrie Irving, obviously the Ben Simmons situation. You don't know whether what he's going to be like. But you got a great prove it opportunity. You got a bunch of games here that the Celtics should be excited to play. But you want to take a look at positives and negatives. The Boston Celtics finished February 9-2. They played some phenomenal. They beat the Hornets. They beat the Nuggets, the Hawks, the Sixers. Right, those are some good teams there. Obviously, you let 2 slide. One at a game at home to Detroit. Detroit just came to play that game. You're shorthanded. No Smart, no Rob Will. You let that one slide right before the All-Star break. Also on the second night of a back-to-back. And then you go on the road on another weird start time against Indy. And you just kind of let it slide from you. Indy just really was taking advantage of the Celtics' kind of lazy defense. that Celtics, mind you, rare lazy defense. Usually this team is very, very quick and on it. So it happens. I'm sitting here and I'm thinking Celtics. There's the 6th seed. They're still 9 games over 500. They got a 3-game home trip, homestand. They get to go back to TD, and maybe go win 3 more, maybe win 2 more. But I would no way press the panic button. I wouldn't call this a bad team. I mean, I can probably find four games this season where the Milwaukee Bucks, on the second night of a back-to-back, you let it slide, or it happens.
Well, last night against the Nets, the Bucks.
They
really shouldn't have lost that game.
Yeah, so
I don't know if they were on the second night of a back-to-back, but that's a bad loss for them. Yeah, it happens.
I think something that's important moving forward here with the Celtics actually now playing some good basketball and some Eastern Conference Finals potential basketball brand right style of play is not every win is going to be not every game we're going to win, right? There's going to be out of the next 20 games, there's going to be, if you were to guess, 6 or 7 games we're going to lose, or 8 games we're going to lose. Some are going to be the good teams, hopefully not, and some are going to be the bad teams, hopefully not. But it's how the NBA works. There's what? How many? I can't even do the math. But each team has 82 games. You're not gonna, the better team's not gonna win every single night. So it's just how it works. And props to the Indiana Pacers. They came in. They took advantage of the Celtics on a second night of a back-to-back, and they came to play. But I'm not too mad with how offensively, I'd say, with how the Celtics played tonight.
Yeah, and also with the schedule losses, I always laugh when people make their predictions on wins and losses within the schedule, and they always mark down games, like coming up here, like say against, the Hawks or the Nets if they're entirely healthy, or the Mavericks or the Nuggets, the Jazz. They mark down tough games like that, and they always have us winning games or their team winning games, against the Kings or the Pacers or a team like the Blazers. Teams like that you don't really think, it's not going to be a factor when you go and play them. But in reality, there's only 30 NBA teams. These are the 30 best teams in the world. On any night, if one team outplays another team or outshoots another team, that team is probably going to win. And tonight, the Indiana Pacers, they, number one, outshot the Celtics. The Celtics, someone mentioned they lived or died by the 3, and that's entirely true in the NBA. The Celtics, I believe, went, 12 of 43 tonight from three-point land, 27.9%. So that is just not really going to get the job done on any night. The fact that the Pacers were able to make tough shots down the stretch and the Celtics weren't, even though they were fairly consistent offensively throughout the game, it played into the outcome of tonight's game. And now we have Ian here. What is Ian's first thoughts here?
I don't know, man. I don't even, honestly and truthfully, I don't even want to talk about this game. That game was terrible. I know it's the second half of a back-to-back, so, I get it, kind of, but, that was an awful game. That was just terrible. The Pacers were just running us off the floor the entire night, and a back-to-back can do that to you, I guess, but I don't know, man. The Celtics just looked awful. And we can also add O'Shea Brissett to the list of random people in the NBA that have just dominated the Celtics this season, right next to Nathan Knight and Jordan McLaughlin and Brandon Boston. I don't know, man. I don't even want to talk about this game, to be honest with you, but that was not a good game. As the Pacers scored 128 points, which is tied for the most allowed by the Celtics this year. So that's fun.
Yeah, well, the Pacers came to play. The Pacers came to play. Celtics, I don't think they didn't.
Celtics didn't. That's basically what happened.
I wouldn't necessarily say the Celtics didn't. I think they were getting some decent looks. I think the shots were there. Obviously, it's the definition of a trap game. It's the definition of these guys are tired. They played at noon yesterday. They hopped on a flight to play at 5 o'clock the next day. They're not going to shoot 12 of 43 every single night. However, A player by the name of Sam Hauser could have helped out maybe some during second, third quarter to match the Pacers' fire shooting. But, I mean, I've been a broken record. It is the definition of a trap game, right? It happens. Celtics. Let's look at some positives here. 9 games over 500, still sitting in comfortably into the sixth position. They got a great opportunity to make a statement. Couple TNT, I believe 3 straight TNT games here against the Hawks, the Grizzlies, and the Nets. Kyrie gets to come back to Boston. That should be entertaining. And this is a real chance for the Celtics to really make a statement because they've made a point with these wins, dominating teams, right? Some lower end teams, but just completely running them through. But now you get a chance at home on national television for a week straight against some good teams to tell the league, hey, we're here, we're coming, and this is a great opportunity. I'd love to see the Celtics go 3-0 here. I'd accept 2-1, obviously. Assuming the fact that KD will be back, I did see that Steve Nash came out and said that KD's return should come some point this week. Atlanta, I believe they're fully healthy. In Memphis, that's going to be a fun one with Ja Morant coming into Boston. Memphis, you only see them twice a year. Ja and those guys have been really killing it. A team actually very similar to the Boston Celtics. I'm excited. I know it was a rough loss, but the Celtics, you got a week at home, kind of get back at it, and 2-1 on a road trip ain't half bad, so I'll take it.
Yeah, and it's also, you look at these schedule losses too, where we lose to the Pacers, and a couple of weeks ago we lost to the Pistons. With good teams coming off these losses, every good team is going to have bad losses, like we talked about. But coming off these losses, the number one thing that people should be looking for is how the team responds. How the team responds to this loss, and that's sort of what irked us about the Celtics earlier this season. Is they just never responded to the really, really bad losses. And that was really something we looked at and went, can this team actually do anything? Because they were, quote unquote, a soft team. Yet now you looked at that Pistons loss right before the All-Star break. They go and have a week off. They come back. They defeat the Nets. They come back after that game and go to the Pistons pretty handily yesterday afternoon. And then all of a sudden they lose to the Pacers again. Right now, this is a stretch here where, we face the Nets next Sunday. It'll be in a week from now. And we face the Hawks and the Grizzlies before that game this week on Tuesday and Thursday. Those are all games where the Celtics need to respond in some way. They can't go 0-3 on the stretch or go 1-2 stretch and look bad while doing it. They have to go, like you said, 3-0 or 2-1, because right now the standings are mattering. It matters. They're starting to matter. 19 games left in the season. We're in a compact Eastern Conference right now. I mean, right now, the 1 seed is separated. We're 5 games back from the 1 seed in the 6th spot. So the 1 seed in the 6th spot is 5 games apart. All these games are going to matter for seeding. And we obviously know come playoff time, having that home court advantage does a lot for a team. And if we, somehow fall back to 7, we have to play in the play-in, no one wants to do that. Or say we stay in the 6th spot and have to face, say Philly, or say Brooklyn makes their way back up miraculously, or the 76ers in the first round. That's not going to be too fun, or even the Bucks. That's not going to be too fun for the Celtics. And all of a sudden, from discussing, when they make it out of the first round. So these next 19 games are going to matter. And coming off this loss today, it's all about how the Celtics moving forward, especially now that we're coming upon a tough stretch.
Yeah, I mean, a golden opportunity.
Yeah.
You're at home.
Yeah. I mean, this is basically what we've been saying all year. It was a bad loss. They have to bounce back really now. They have to kind of. I mean, I wouldn't say they have to blow out Atlanta, but they have to beat Atlanta considerably to really I mean, I know it's the second half of the back-to-back, but I feel like we really need to beat Atlanta, and we need to either beat Memphis or Brooklyn. I think that's going to be really important for them. It'll be important for their confidence too, because I mean, you need all the confidence you can get, and I mean, we need to see how the Celtics do. This is going to be a fun stretch of games. The game on Thursday against John Morant and the Grizzlies, I'm really excited for. I'm going to that game. That game's going to be fun to watch, and I'm just hoping the Celtics can bounce back. And Seamus basically said everything right there. That's the most important thing the Celtics didn't do in the first half of the season. And, I mean, it seems like they bounced back pretty well recently. So I'm excited to see what they can do on Tuesday when they play Atlanta.
Yeah, for sure. And, I'm looking at the schedule right now. Celtics, they have they have two more back-to-backs coming up on the season. They actually three more, I apologize. They consist of Denver one night on the road, and they go to play Oklahoma City. And then they have Minnesota at home, and they fly out to Canada to play the Raptors. But also a Sunday, Monday back-to-back. And then to finish off the season, they have the Bulls on the road at the United Center, and then they go fly on Thursday night to play the Bucks in Milwaukee. So they got three more back-to-backs here. That's kind of seemed to be the Celtics' problem because we kind of run that 8-man, 7-man rotation. It is tough for their legs to kind of sustain two strong games. But I'm also looking at the schedule, and I'm seeing a lot of wins. You got to figure these next 5 games, if you take a look at them, you have Atlanta, Memphis, Brooklyn, Charlotte, and Detroit. You'd like to go 4-1 in that stretch. You figure you go 4-1, then you're sitting at 40 and 28, 12 games over 500, which is a very comfortable place to sit at. So, just go in and take care of business. Celtics have been a great team at home. There's not really a lot to talk about with this loss, other than the fact that, the Celtics got to come out and respond in a strong manner. Game against Atlanta is a great way to do it. They've given us problems all season. Let's go in, buckle in. Al Horford's coming back to the lineup, obviously after resting tonight. So it's a great opportunity. This show will be short, though. Obviously, like I said, not a lot of talk about Celtics second night of a back-to-back. But, before we close out on this show, guys, thoughts, opinions, what you want to see for the Celtics moving forward as we approach this little homestand against some 3 quality basketball teams.
I want to see them establish, just play their game. I mean, I've said this, just win. I mean, at this point, that's really all you can do, and I say that every time, but I just kind of want them to respond. That's basically all I'm really caring about. I'm not really taking this loss too hard, I guess, because, it was second half of the back-to-back, and, the players are pretty tired at this point. So I'm just excited to see what they do against Atlanta. That's going to be the big thing.
Yeah, and I have 2 things. Number one, Peyton Pritchard, again, showed up off the bench, 14 points, averaging half in his last 2 games, and he was also 5 of 9 from the floor, 4 of them beyond the arc. The only Celtic to instantly hit a 3-point shot today is Tatum went 2 of 12, Jaylen Brown 2 of 5, Marcus Smart 1 of 7, Derek White 1 of 5, and actually Daniel Tice, he was 50%, 1 of 2. But Peyton Pritchard, it felt like he was really one of the Celtics today, and I want to see more of that moving forward out of him. And we know that Peyton Pritchard can be that guy, that spark plug player off the bench to come out and kind of rejuvenate the team a little bit, especially on offense if he can make a couple of shots out there. And the Celtics, that's what they're trying to develop him into, is a shot maker and somebody who can make a good decisions, the line of good decisions with the ball in his hands. And moving forward, he's going to be looking at he's going to play a big role later on down the stretch. And that also leads me to later on down the stretch, the Bulls and that Bucks, that back-to-back, that's going to be really interesting. Like I said, if we're jockeying for playoff seeding at that point in time, and say Milwaukee, Chicago, they're doing the same because the East is not decided in any way whatsoever, those could be 2 really huge games. You never know. We could be, there with Milwaukee or Chicago during those last 2 games of the season, and those could potentially be, not not play-in games, but games that decide, whether we go on the road in game one or we're at home at game one of the first round. So that's going to be very interesting moving forward. Peyton Pritchard and 2 games of the season. That was on my agenda there.
Yeah, well, I just want to see the Celtics kind of go back to their brand of basketball. They really kind of lost their identity tonight. Play physical defense, which I have no doubt in my mind they'll get back to doing. Tough to play physical defense when your legs are tired. Understandable. Don't let it happen again. I sound like a principal, but don't let that happen again. You don't want to slip, right? Because you let it slip, and one loss turns into 3 losses, and all of a sudden you're sliding. And we've put ourselves in a very good position moving forward for these last 19 games. So you don't want to let a bad week of basketball, ruin that. Go in, continue to drive, put your head down. I think the Celtics, when the ball's getting kicked out from the paint, are a much better basketball team. They're getting the looks, just knock down some shots. Pritchard, I'd love to see Grant kind of slide back down to the bench to get that 8-man. Maybe Pritchard's becoming that little 8th man, gives us some offense off the bench you like to see. Other than that, Celtics got some 3 big ones I'm super excited for. You guys, will have you covered for all 3 of those games right back here for the post-game show. Seamus does his Celtics halftime live on his Instagram. If you're not watching that, go ahead over there at the halftime show. Also, you want to go watch to go chill at the game. Ian live on TikTok during the games. Obviously, you said you're going to the Memphis game, so you probably won't be live then. Maybe hop in during the game. That'd be pretty cool. And then come back here post game to go check out all of our thoughts, what we got, put it all together, make the magic happen. Justin will be back with us next game. Other than that, guys, Celtics lose a rough one, 107-128. Snap the Celtics 7-game road winning streak. We will have you guys back here Tuesday night against the